Welcome to the Deadass podcast.
Yep.
All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Deadass podcast. I'm your host, Bryzy, where we capture eulogies, share stories about life and all the bits and pieces that come with it. Good times, bad times, all the above. And today I've got a guest with me, Jodie Tickle.
Hey.
Lovely to meet you.
You too?
We actually got chatting over the socials about the podcast, and you were discussing with us about death and stuff like that, and about so many how you're related to it with your professions over the years and bits and pieces that you do. And I found that quite interesting about some of the things that we discussed. And so I'd love to hear a bit about your life, about those things that we discussed. And then we could share some stories and bits and pieces about that.
Yeah.
So firstly, so whereabouts were you originally from and where you grew up and bits and pieces?
So I've been in Queensland 5 years and originally from the Hunter Valley in New South Wales.
Yeah,
My
sure.
husband is from northern New South Wales.
Yeah,
so
right, yeah.
We met and lived down there, moved overseas for a little while, came back, and we moved here going on 5 years ago.
Yeah,
from
right.
Tamworth.
Okay. And how do you like it here?
Love it.
Love it?
Love Rockhampton.
Yeah.
I was really hesitant to move here because we moved here for his job to start with, and
Sure.
I said, no, I'm not going. All my family and friends are here, and I loved my jobs. Anyway, we ended up here, and love it. I won't go back.
Was there any, have you heard stories about Rocky or anything like that before you come here? Like, because some people are under the
No.
impression that it's a bit of a shit show.
No, see, we travelled a lot because
Yeah.
my husband rode bulls.
Yeah, okay, cool.
He was a bull rider, so we'd been to Rocky quite a few times, just, came up for an event and went home, and we had friends here. We knew people he knew people here that he used to ride with. So
Sure.
we sort of knew what it was like. We came up for 4 days before we moved here without the kids to have a look around. And, we said, oh, well, we only get offered these opportunities, when they pop up and
Sure.
you should take them. So,
Yeah, fair
here
enough.
we are.
So did you transfer in your position field what you specialise in as well, or?
No, so I randomly applied for a job. So I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years and a midwife for 6.
Yeah.
I applied for a job at the private hospital and I had a phone interview, so I already had that job
Okay.
before I came here. But before I moved here, I worked in a jail as corrections nurse.
Correction. Wow,
Yeah,
cool.
it was so great. I loved that job. I also still did my emergency and maternity, but I just picked up extra
Sure.
in the jail, something different. I like to do different things all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So my husband, to play the card of getting me here, said, there's a jail there. And I've always wanted to do retrieval nursing, so flight nursing, which is why I went back and did maternity, like my midwifery studies.
Yeah.
Because I've always been critical care. So he said, there's also an RFDS base there. And I went, oh, okay. And I emailed the manager of that and the jail, and I was offered a job at the jail when I got up here. So I already had the job at the hospital, was offered that job. I think it was 3 days. The RFDS messaged back and said, we don't have any positions available at the moment, but, we'll keep your resume on file.
Wow.
I think it was 3 days before we moved here, and I got an email saying a casual position had become available. Please come and see them when I got here.
Could have timed that any better.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So moved up here in the December of 2018, and then by February I was flying. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
got
awesome.
the job. Thought it was the best thing
Yeah.
ever because this is what I'd worked. I'd been to uni for 6 years and worked so hard to get to this position. It was good.
Oh, good on you. And
Didn't end up going to the jail.
you didn't end up going to jail at all?
It was because we lived out of town on a farm, so it was 40-minute travel for me, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, no, fair enough. What was the experience like in those years flying, doing the flying stuff? That would have been unreal.
Yeah, it was good. So I did it for 3 years. had some really good experiences,
Yep.
some really shitty experiences. It probably wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Okay, sure.
So if you've ever seen the first season of the show that was on TV the last year, nothing like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. Because here we really only do tertiary or transfers from hospital to hospital,
Yeah, okay.
it can get a little bit monotonous.
Yeah, okay, sure.
90% of our patients we fly to Brisbane are cardiac patients.
Yeah, sure.
So because
Okay.
there's just not the facilities here to service them all.
Yeah.
And just sick people coming
Yeah, okay.
in. So,
Yeah.
a lot of trips from Emerald and the smaller communities back to Rocky that need an ICU or higher acuity care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, that's fair enough. I mean, it makes sense, actually, when you think
Yeah.
about it.
So I got a little bit,
Well, you said yourself that you like to keep things interesting, I guess.
Yes,
And I guess
yeah.
that's probably why.
Yeah.
Where did you start? Where was your first run of being a nurse? Where did you originally start it?
I remember my dad when I told him I wanted to go to uni to be a nurse. I'd already moved out of home by then. I was a mature age student, so
Yeah,
I
sure.
went when I was, I think I started when I was 22,
Yeah.
started uni. And he laughed at me because I was a child growing up that had the biggest phobia of needles and anything medical. Like
Yeah.
I had to have a penicillin injection in the bum
Yeah.
on Christmas Day, and I must have been about 12, 10 or 12. It took 6 people to hold me down just to
Holy
have this
smokes.
one shot. So everyone laughed at me. Anyway, I did that, went through uni, loved it. I just had this feeling that I needed to help people and do
Yes.
something more with my life
Yes.
than I was working in a motel like reception and
Yeah, sure.
being a receptionist. So I finished uni. My husband was riding bulls. We moved to America. I picked up 2 units at university so we could get a long visa.
Wow.
So he came on my visa, and because I was studying technically,
Yeah.
we could work as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I worked in a large trauma hospital over there, and I also did some work on the Native American reservations.
Oh, wow. What were they like?
Yeah, it was cool.
Was
It
that
really
cool?
So I looked after an elderly lady. She was Navajo, and
Wow.
she would have been late 80s, 90s. She actually we transferred her into hospital, and her name was Many Goats. That was her legal name, and she didn't speak a word of English, and we had Navajo translators, and yeah.
And that was literally because that was the first thing they saw when she was born, you
I
think?
didn't ask whether her family were
Wake up and
well-to-do
going,
and they had goats. I don't know, but her name was Many Goats.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
You hear about it, but you don't really know.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you don't really know about it.
Yeah,
So to actually hear it from someone that's seen it firsthand or
Yeah.
spoken to someone from them firsthand, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
And so what was that? What was the experience like? Was it on the actually on the reservation?
So
that you're doing it, or-
we lived in Arizona, and I would travel out with a community nurse
Sure.
out to the reservations and do healthcare assessments and
Yeah.
stuff. And then most of my time was spent in a big trauma hospital.
What was that trauma hospital like?
It's the things that we have now in our healthcare system, they had then 20 years ago.
You're kidding
So
me.
where I worked, because it's private, everyone has to pay, and people get turned away if they don't have any money, which is really sad. But like their beds, all their beds were electric, and they had scales in them. So if the patient was on daily weighs, you just
Wow.
hit a button on their bed and it weighed them.
Wow.
Everything was electric. Computer notes. Every bed had its own computer next to it, so you write your computer notes. And then I came back here to a rural hospital in New South Wales, and I was still like bend down and crank the handle to wind
Yeah.
the back of the bed up. And,
Wow.
Yeah, and we're still using paper notes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how long did you end up doing that stint there at the?
So we were there for a year. My husband was riding for the professional bull riders, the
Yeah,
PBR. He's gone pretty good actually, and then got in a bad wreck in Canada and
smoke.
compound fractured his legs.
Holy
some
smokes.
Spinal injuries, dislocated his elbow and his shoulder, and
Holy shit.
so we recovered him. That was in the October, and we recovered him till he was well enough. it was cheaper when we bought our tickets. We were only young.
Yeah.
They were called around the world tickets. So you got 5 stops around the world, but you had to go anti-clockwise around the world. But you had to go, your next stop had to go forward. Like you couldn't come back.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we used those. So we had a trip planned around Europe, and we went to Canada and Europe and England, and I made him go. He was still on a crutch. He still had like one crutch.
Oh, no.
Still had like bung leg, and it wasn't. He'd rehabbed as much as he could. But I made him, and we went to Germany.
Yeah.
Hired a motorhome, and I'm not very good at driving motorhomes or in traffic. And he was driving around Germany in a motorhome with one bung leg. Yeah, nearly got into a fight.
Oh, really?
He said, I thought I was going to have to get out with his crutch and hit someone.
Flog someone with his
Anyway,
crutch.
by the time we got to England, he threw his crutch away and he said, I'm not using that anymore. Anyway, yeah. So we were over there for that
Does
long.
he still do that now? Does he still do bull riding now?
No, so because we're both 45.
Yep.
A bit past it now.
Yeah, fair enough.
We came home. He rehabbed at home here, had another couple of surgeries. I think he had a year or 18 months off and then started riding again. He only rode then for another couple of years and retired.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's he do now for his spare time?
Not
something as crazy as bull riding?
No, so we then started he's always grown up with horses.
Okay.
So we started rodeoing at the other end of the arena. So he was team roping, I roped a little bit. We played polo cross, all horse sports.
Wow, that's awesome.
So now we just have so we still have bucking bulls, but we just compete with them as futurity bulls, so they don't have a rider on them. So we train them with like a dummy. It's called a box, an electric box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have yourself and your husband have just grown up around that whole?
I didn't. I'm a townie.
Oh, really?
So I
okay.
came from a town. Always played sports. Always went camping and did country things, but never lived on a farm. So he has grown up
around it.
Yeah.
And he introduced you to it, sort of in a way.
Yeah. Friends at school and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's scary. I've seen that stuff.
Yeah.
Me watching it, like, I find that's pretty nuts what everyone in that sort of industry does. And it's probably good that his wife is a critical care nurse at the time
he got
too.
some good rehab. So he had to have a double hip replacement 18 months ago.
Wow.
He needed one when he was 30.
Wow.
And they wouldn't do it because he was too young. So he had that done, 18 months ago here in Rocky, both at the same time. So, we rehabbed him through that.
Did when you were when you finished with your rehabbing at work and rehabbing at home.
Yeah.
When you finished doing it with the RFDS, where did you go to next after that?
So I still work at the hospital. I work at the private hospital and still do emergency and maternity.
Oh, so okay, wow, yeah.
I just cool. I felt really sad about leaving because I'd worked so hard to get to that position, and I just wasn't enjoying it anymore.
Yeah.
For the last 6 months, I just didn't want to go to work. Long shifts we were doing. Sometimes we'd do 14-hour shifts, and I just wasn't enjoying it. And my husband had like a really full-on demanding job, and we have 3 kids of our own, and I was struggling to fit it all in, and so and I thought
it makes sense.
I'd had enough of really sick people.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's completely understandable because I'm sure it's an emotional strain on you as well personally, because then I'm guessing you would. I'm only guessing here, but I would assume that you start building up these relationships with those people. You're caring for them. You see them. Unfortunately, some of them pass away.
Yeah.
And then it affects you personally.
Yeah.
And then some of those ones that you're dealing with, you're fighting a losing battle. It's evident. There's nothing that you can do about it. A lot of people in my industry, they'll come up to me and they'll say, how do you do your job? How can you do it? And I said, well, to be honest with you, a lot of it is when we arrive, it's already happened.
Yes.
We're there past it. We're there after the event's taken place. We're not the ones that have to go through seeing that person dying.
Yeah.
We're not the ones that have found that person dead. We're not the ones that are having to try and save that person's life. We're coming after the event. So we don't have it, unless we have a personal attachment to that person, we know them personally. Any other time, really, we're there to do our job.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
so
just a job.
it's just a job. And in the way, without being cold, that's at that first point. That's where it's, and then you do build up those relationships with the families and stuff when you do when you do the funeral and whatnot. But that initial part. So so I go, okay, well, but you know, my hat goes off to the paramedics, the nursing staff, the wardies, the people who are there caring for those people, building up those relationships with them, see them all the time, and then having to deal with the event of them passing away. And I'm sure you've probably dealt with lots of those, hey?
Yeah, so one of the hardest things, I mean, we transferred some really sick people that we weren't even going to, and myself and a doctor, we weren't sure whether they were going to make the flight.
Wow.
To Brisbane, which is an hour and 40, you know. And the hardest flight I did, and I have her permission to talk about this because she's a good friend of mine and I didn't know them at the time. I was flying, I got my list for the day and it was a young boy who had, and I read his diagnosis before we accepted them onto the flight, and he had Ewing sarcoma, and I didn't even really know what that was. To be honest, I thought it was a benign sort of tumour growth.
Yeah, okay.
So I Googled it.
Yeah.
And it was a very rare form of cancer.
Wow, okay.
And this boy had been diagnosed only a couple of days before his flight, and he was flying down to begin his chemo treatment.
Only a couple of days prior.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they arrived at the airport in the ambulance, and this boy looked well, besides a bandage on his leg because he'd had surgery to find out that it was cancer.
Okay, sure.
And his mum was beside herself. Her name's Jackie.
Yeah.
And she was really nervous about flying. Anyway, there was only her and Eli on the flight and myself.
Yeah.
And he was the same age as my son, looked very similar, my middle boy, same mannerisms. And I spent that entire flight looking out the window crying. And it was the most heart-wrenching thing I have ever done.
Yeah.
The whole flight. And at the end of it, we got talking and we became good friends. And I said to her, can I follow your journey and can I keep in contact with you?
Beautiful.
And she said, yeah. So I followed their journey the whole way through, all his treatment. We did fundraising.
Yeah.
He's their local Yeppoon family, most beautiful family, Jackie, Stu and Eli and Ella, Ella. He had a little sister. And sadly, he rang the bell that he was cancer-free and then sadly he passed away 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, coming up at the end of August in a couple of weeks. And I never forget the day she messaged me to say that he'd passed. Like, I was flying and I spent that whole day, I nearly had to pull up and quit for the day because, it was just, I learned so much from that child, and that experience. And
the strength and the bravery and
and I found it really bizarre because I had never ever been that connected to a patient before, and that involved in their life. But I just had this connection, and I felt like I needed to help them.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
So it was really hard, and he taught me to be a better person.
Yeah.
To be a better mum, to be a better person in general, and not to take anything for granted.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is. That's beautiful.
And we're still good friends.
Really? Oh, good. That's great. Because, that's, they're the ones that really hit home, eh?
Yeah.
And I've had those situations where not in that sense because, I have, that's another day and another story, one that I've actually told. But normal circumstances, like for us, we would meet the family after the event.
Yeah.
So, as sad as it is for us to hear it, normally we don't understand exactly everything that family has gone through
what happened
and dealt
to get
with
there.
to get there. Yeah. So you know, for someone in yourself that did see all that, I completely understand why you would
it was
have a different outlook and appreciation for things.
Yeah, it was just a crazy attachment that I felt.
Yeah,
with
of course,
family,
definitely.
And I'd never experienced that before in my whole nursing career. And and he just had this profound effect on me and everybody that he met.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a bad mum by any means, but you know, when the kids would have a school carnival and I had something planned, and then they'd say, "Oh, I've got a school carnival," most parents would go, "Oh God, I've got to go to the school carnival, watch my kid come last in a race," that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
But not anymore.
Yeah.
Since meeting him and experiencing their story,
That's beautiful.
I spend as much time with my kids as possible now.
Yeah.
My oldest boy's just about to turn 18 and he's now off with his mates, and I'm like, "Oh, I raised you for 17 years and now you're just deserting me." Normally, and I thought I would be like, "Yeah, go, let me be free." But no, I'm not. Now I'm like, "Oh, he's leaving me."
My wife is very similar to that too, but she's she's great with the kids, like fantastic. And even the older boys, you know, they're still mummy's boy.
Yeah, I know.
100%.
I
Yeah.
know.
But that's just good. That's good nurturing too.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I do have a habit of, like what you said before, where you almost put yourself in that person's shoes.
Yes.
I sometimes have a habit of doing that from previous experiences. So both my mother and my brother both committed suicide.
Oh.
And so especially mum was 10 years ago. So leading up to that, I've been in the funeral industry prior anyway, but it wasn't until that event took place that I actually had more of an appreciation. Well, when I say appreciation, I mean more empathy towards the families that were going through something similar.
Exactly.
You know,
yes.
I really didn't. I didn't really. What's the best way to put it? I didn't really understand it properly until I actually experienced it myself.
Yep.
And then have more of empathy for those people that are going through that. So, you know, that was the first time that I'd actually dealt with anything that was really traumatic in my life. You know, I'd had grandparents pass away from cancer and stuff like that, but nothing like to that sort of magnitude. Whereas I'd done so many funerals leading up to that in the same situation, but not really having that same sort of empathy towards the family, and that was just purely because I didn't know.
Yeah,
didn't know what it was like.
You have to experience things.
Yeah, you have, and that's unfortunately sometimes those are the experiences that you go through to have to understand and appreciate those things. So I understand exactly what you're saying with that. Was there when you were doing your nursing stuff? I'm sorry, you're still active now, are you?
Yeah.
You're still active. Was there any other, like, was there some pretty crazy stories going on there, or did you?
Yeah,
in particular?
And my kids told me I had to tell this story.
Okay, really? Yeah. Okay.
So I was working in an emergency department in New South Wales, down in the Hunter Valley, and I had a guy come in once who had slipped on a Granny Smith apple.
Oh no!
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Multiple stories like this, but
they always slip.
Yeah, slipped on a Granny Smith apple, mind you. It was quite large. So he needed surgery to extract that Granny Smith apple from a place where it shouldn't have been. But multiple, the old sauce bottle, tomato sauce bottle.
Tomato sauce bottle.
Yeah, and he said, I was climbing through the kitchen window and I slipped and the sauce bottle went.
You're going through the window naked,
yeah, you just go, oh, okay, yep, sure.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, stuff like that.
The Granny Smith apple, but of all things.
Apple. I have seen a steak knife.
No.
Yeah, where it shouldn't be. Like on the X-ray, it was obviously surgical removal.
Wow.
This was before I was a registered nurse. When I was at university, I worked as an assistant in nursing in a nursing home. And so that's like the lowest level in a nursing home you can do. So you
Yep.
get all like the shit jobs,
Yeah,
literally
sure.
the shit jobs. Had this old fella in there who was 90, and let's just call him Fred.
Okay, Fred.
So Fred was 91. He was an ex-sailor.
Okay, sure.
Really quite rude, had a little bit of dementia, but still knew what he was doing.
Yes.
So you'd walk past, and if you could hear the sheets whacking, you'd just keep walking. Yeah. And there's one day, so they do activities.
Yeah.
This one day, so we'd get them up in the morning, and they'd have a shower, and we'd shower them and wheel them in for breakfast, and then about mid-morning they'd do activities. This one morning they were making pikelets, like little pancake things.
Yeah.
And then they got to eat them for morning tea before they then went and had a nap before lunchtime or whatever. And Fred had eaten all his pancakes, like little pikelets. So I thought he'd eaten them, and I was wheeling him back to his bed, and I said, "Oh, you must have been hungry, Fred. Like you ate those pancakes." And he said, "Yes, I did." And he winked at me and started laughing.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Anyway, they wear nappies, adult nappies, if they're incontinent. So I had to change his nappy before I put him to bed. So I took his pants off, and here was his pikelets scrunched around his old fella. They must have been warm or something. He's put them down there, and he scrunched them up, and they even had like the fingerprints in them.
No.
And I was like, "Okay, let's just clean you up here." And he just laughed and laughed and laughed. Yeah.
Nothing like a hot pancake,
and I
or a
will
hot
never
pikelet.
forget that. And I was like, I can't do aged care. I just can't.
Were they plain? I don't know.
I don't know. I just
Oh wow.
yeah.
Oh jeez.
I thought he was just really hungry. But anyway,
Yeah, something was hungry. It wasn't in his appetite.
no. So
Jeez
yeah, that was
Louise.
one story.
That would have. Jeez. They're funny buggers, eh?
Yeah.
When you get them in the nursing homes, there, some of them, eh?
He used to try and get all the young nurses into bed with him. He'd
player,
pull the
eh?
sheets back and say, come and hop in here, lovey. And I'd say, "Oh, no, I can't, Fred. I'm married." And he'd say, "Oh, I'll be better than your husband, but can't get in here."
I love his confidence.
Sorry.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
What a champion. 91, eh?
He was
Trying to win over women.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, that's unreal. Did you when you were so from that you go into that, was it straight into critical care after that, or was that just part of the training for that?
No, so I finished uni, moved to the States, did some time there. Mm-hmm. Then when we came home, I worked at a small rural hospital.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a lifestyle change in itself too, eh? Going from that.
Yeah. Loved it.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, so it was we had a medical ward, we did basic surgeries, a maternity ward, and a small emergency department, and day surgery. So I worked in theatres. I worked in theatres. I didn't do a postgrad year. So normally they do like an introduction to nursing postgrad year, and you rotate through larger hospitals. I just went straight in as a first year registered nurse.
Okay.
And I worked in theatres for 2 years, and I did my postgraduate degree in theatre nursing.
Yeah, sure.
So I did anaesthetics and recovery, and I was getting bored because your patients are knocked out.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing over and over again. So then I changed to ED, and then I just have been ED ever since until I decided, and then I did another postgrad degree in trauma and emergency nursing. And then I thought I really want to get into flight nursing and doing the retrievals, but I needed to be a midwife. So that's when I decided to go and do another 18 months of uni, which I was working full time
and doing that
to become a midwife.
Geez, that would have been a balance.
Yeah, it was. That was probably one of the toughest years of my life.
Did you find as you got older though, like you're studying and stuff, did you find that harder to do?
No,
Or
easier.
Easier, true.
Yeah.
You had more patience for it and stuff, didn't you?
I think it's just when you've got, because I had kids, it's just more structured, and you just follow that routine sort of thing.
Sure.
And I found I was working full time and studying full time, and we had a farm. and the kids were very active with sport, and all three of them were at school. I was just everything ran quite smoothly because I was
cool.
more organised because I knew I had to be
Yeah, of
to
course.
get it done. Yeah.
That's impressive itself, hey, to be able to do that. So you went from the rural thing, came back up to here, did that. That trauma stuff, what was that like? Did you in the ED and stuff in the emergency? That would have been, you love
love
that?
ED. Yeah,
Yeah, that would have
it's
been crazy.
my place to go. So I've recently just I started a new job at a GP practice here.
Cool.
I'm just doing 2 days a week, and I thought I just needed something more regular with my bodybuilding at the moment because it's so structured and so strict. I thought I just needed those that structured shift, so I could fit in my training around it because I knew when I was working and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've still kept those casual shifts at the emergency and the maternity. A, to keep my skills up, and B, because I miss that
side of it.
area.
How long have you been doing the bodybuilding for?
2 years.
2 years. How you going with that?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And what got you started in that? Actually, that's a good question.
So 2019, I really struggled. I had some personal things going on. It was just a shit year.
Yeah.
Hit some pretty dark spaces because we'd just moved here. I knew nobody, had no friends, no family here. They were all 14 hours away. We were busy. My husband was working away a lot. His job was so demanding. And I thought, I just need to do something and meet some friends.
Yep.
And I was just scrolling through Facebook one day, and you know those sponsored ads that just pop up?
Yep.
Well, one popped up for Fitzroy Martial Arts.
Oh, wow. There we go.
Shout out to Brant and Leah about a 6-week challenge.
Yeah, okay.
And so I thought, I'm going to do that. So I went in and met Leah and met Brant, and I signed up to do the 6-week challenge, and I think we'd only done it for a week or two, and COVID hit. No, it must have been after that COVID hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I met them and I just started training because I used to do kickboxing years ago, like before kids, before I was married. My husband and I were together, but we weren't married. So I used to do that a bit down home, and then I stopped when we moved overseas. So I just started with Brandon at Fitzroy Fitness doing the fitness classes and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And then I progressed and I thought I might just go back to boxing because I think I was 40 at that stage.
Yeah.
So I might just go back to boxing, and I got Liam.
Liam
was my coach.
Yeah, cool.
Love Liam.
He's a top bloke,
He's just the best guy. I did some PTs with him and started to get really loving my boxing again, not kickboxing, just boxing, and did a little bit of sparring, tried a bit of BJJ.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I got choked out on my first thing. Got told I should never get on my back, which was interesting, but it hurt. It hurt my body physically.
Yeah, physically. Yeah.
Just like the throws, getting thrown on my back on the mat and stuff. It just hurt afterwards, so I didn't really do that for very long. So I went from there. Then I thought I started to get really fit, loving life. Started to learn more about nutrition and decided to do my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness.
Good on you.
So I did that, which is pretty much just a tick and flick.
I was going to say, because you would have, it's probably a bit of RPL there too, because a lot of what is it? Anatomy
and physiology.
Yeah. So that would be all. You'd probably have a lot of RPL, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So, it would have been a bit of a shoe-in for you because you would have been understanding a lot of that anyway.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It was tick and flick pretty much.
Yeah.
I think I smashed it out in 6 weeks.
Did you really? Yeah, that's cool. Good on you.
It's not great. And then I started doing a little bit of coaching over there at Fitzroy Fitness and just doing the fitness classes and box fit with for Brant and Leah when they needed someone. And then I saw this, and then I injured. I've got chronic wrist pain from boxing.
Okay, sure.
So I sort of eased up on that a little bit, and I have other injuries as well from previous sports and stuff.
Yeah.
I saw this, was scrolling through social media again, and saw this picture of this lady in her 50s in a bikini, ripped as, jacked, and I thought, she's 52, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I always like to challenge myself and
you.
give myself really hard things to do.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to have a go at that. So I started looking into it more, and then I found a coach who happened to be sort of a colleague of mine.
Yeah.
And we went from there.
Oh, good on you. And you've done some competition and all that sort of stuff too, haven't you?
Yeah, so we went – so I was from a cardio background, I was straight up and down, skinny.
Yes.
Straight up and down, no muscle, because I was road running all the time. I was training for a fight, and then I got COVID.
Yep.
So I had to quit that because now I get asthma.
Oh wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was straight up and down. So I had to, and I was living on 1,500 calories. You know, most women, that's what we do. We eat 1,500 calories, salads, live on salads, because we think that's the way to stay skinny.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. And then this coach that I employed, Dan, he said, no, you need to build muscle. You need food to fuel muscle growth. You can't build muscle without food. So we started a reverse diet. So we gradually, he set my weight training program, cut out most cardio, and then I started to increase my calories.
Wow.
So we increased my calories. I think I got up to 2,400 last year per day, which is massive.
Yeah.
I put on it. You have to put on fat. You can't do it without putting on some degree of body fat.
Yep.
So we built, and then we prepped, and we did 2 shows last year in Brisbane, which was really good. I ended up I was so nervous because it's not me, and I was forcing myself out of my comfort zone. Like what you see is what you get. I wear joggers, jeans, grew up in scrubs and joggers, boots and jeans. Yes. So the thought of me wearing a bikini and sparkly, like I don't even wear makeup, and high heels on a stage with spotlights was just terrifying.
It would have been crazy. Yeah, I don't blame you.
And all I kept saying was, my first show, I said, oh my God, I am going to be the old chick that falls over and breaks her ankle and a boob falls out on the stage, and I'm going to be forever known as that old chick whose tit fell out and she broke her ankle on the IMBA stage.
Yeah, okay.
So because I had to hire a posing coach.
Of course, it's part of the routine, isn't it? Yeah.
And it is by far, I will train 110% every time. I love lifting weights. I will train my guts out. But posing, oh my gosh, it is the hardest thing you could ever do, I think.
Well, you're constantly under tension, aren't you, for the whole time that you're posing.
And you got to try and smile at the same time and not fall over in your heels. And
and then you got to go to a routine and a rhythm and...
seriously, I was like a drunk giraffe to start with. It was so
like
bad.
One of those newborn giraffes.
Yeah,
just
so bad. I even look back now and go, oh, God, what was I doing?
Yeah.
I don't know what the judges saw, but I ended up winning. So I went in the beginners and the over 40s and masters. So I won the over 40s in my first one. And then my second show my coach wanted me to do was a nationals, like a nationals, straight up, second show ever.
Wow.
Oh, my God, I'm so out of my depth here. And I think I ended up with a 4th and a 5th and a 6th.
Hey, congratulations. That's unreal. National level.
Yeah.
National. Wow, that's impressive. And that was your second show in.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Then we've built. So we've spent, that was in October last year. So then we have to reverse out of it. So because you drop your calories quite low. So I didn't go below 1,300. That was my hard limit. I said I'm not going below that because it's only 1,200 calories we keep comatose patients on.
Okay, wow.
So I'm not going below that.
So you don't, that makes sense.
So I got down to 1,300 and I probably wasn't as lean as I should have been compared to everybody else. So then we've reversed out of that and I built my calories up to 2,500, which is all, so they calculate them in macros. So I have to eat a specific amount of protein, carbs and fats per day.
Yeah. And that would be rigorous and
so you have to track every single thing you put in your mouth. Not so much in the off season. You still track it because obviously you don't want to go
blow out too much or or not
bulking on shit food.
Yeah, of course.
And I've learned so much about nutrition. So much. I'd really like to do a diploma of sports nutrition. But
True. Do you have, is it hard to keep it strict? Because like, you get the cravings and all the bits and
yeah,
pieces?
for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm 7 weeks out from, or 8 weeks and a couple of days out from my first show of this year.
Wow.
Normally people have a year off in
sure.
between to build so
Sure.
you can build muscle.
Yes.
Because I'm completely natural.
Yes.
I mean, the sport is rife with performance
Supplements,
enhancing drugs.
PEDs.
But I only do the natty
Yes.
federation, so everybody's tested.
Okay, sure.
And I'm 45, just turned 45, so it takes a long time to build the muscle.
Yeah.
But I said to my coach, I want to go again straight away because I know I can be better than I was last year.
Yeah, good
And
on
it's
you.
not against anyone else, but I know I can do better.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring a better package than I
Yeah.
did last year.
That's
and then
cool.
I probably won't do it again because I really love CrossFit and it's totally two different sports.
So you love CrossFit too, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you like that more?
So I've always loved the concept of CrossFit,
Yes.
but I never did it because I've had so many injuries and I didn't think I would be able to do it. And I was having trouble in the middle of last year with a few of my lifts. I was having a lot of knee pain in my squats and, shoulder pain and hip pain for my big compound lifts.
Yep.
So I approached Marlo over here at Awaken.
Yeah, sure.
Best gym, love it.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to Awaken CrossFit.
Yeah.
And said, can I just have some PTs? Can you just go through some lifts with me because I'm having trouble? And I was back to squatting 20 kilos and I was having pain.
Sure.
And he said, do you want to do CrossFit? And I said, nope, not interested in CrossFit. I'm not a CrossFitter. I'm a bodybuilder.
Yeah, okay.
Did some PTs. He fixed pretty much all of my problems in a couple of PTs. Went away, did my shows, came back, started training, and I thought, I'm going to go to CrossFit. Went over there, joined, became a member, and haven't looked back. I love
Really?
it.
Good on you.
And I didn't realise that it's so easy to modify things to suit each individual.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I've been diagnosed with bursitis now in my shoulders,
Okay, sure.
apparently caused from boxing, but debatable.
Yeah.
Could be from anything.
Yeah.
So I'm limited in any overhead exercises. So, when they're doing their snatches and stuff,
Sure.
I can't do them, but we just do other things instead. So I'll do cleans instead or
Yeah, sure.
yeah. So if I've got a problem with my back, he'll modify the workout to suit the individual. So you're still getting a workout, you're still feeling included.
Yes.
But it's not limiting you at all.
No, that's good. Yeah, no, I contemplated a couple of times. I've never done a CrossFit class myself personally.
Yeah, you should go.
I've always been an old school, go to the gym.
It's addictive, but
I could imagine it would be. Well, every time I see him do a class, it's packed.
yeah.
Yeah, and I can see it would be.
It's good.
Sure.
It's I've really developed a feeling for my own body.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I'm not an ego lifter. So I know my own limits.
Sure.
I know, if someone come up to me and said, oh, come on, you can put an extra 5 kilos on that, I would say, no, I'm not.
Yeah, of
because
course.
I know what I can handle and what I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's good. Yeah, because I'm much the same. I've never been an ego lifter or anything. I'm quite happy. I could quite happily just put, 60, 70, 80 kilos on the bench and just sit there and do that and be comfortable with that, knowing that my shoulders and everything are going to be okay. I'm not going to be potentially straining them.
Yeah.
The reason why I was going to do it was I just thought it'd be a good sort of all-round general fitness for your body and a bit more overall strength and cardio and all that sort. Because I see that there's a fair bit of cardio involved in it too.
Yeah, it's usually a concept of each. So you'll do a component of weightlifting or sometimes they do bodybuilding sort of style weights. And then you'll do like a metabolic conditioning portion, which is your cardio portion.
So how long have you been doing that for?
So I joined as a member in January,
Okay,
I think.
yeah.
Straight in, did the CrossFit Open.
Did you?
Didn't even know what I was doing, but they were like, "Come on, Jodie, you can do it." And they said it's very inclusive, and I ended up, I don't know, something ridiculous, 139th in Australia for my age
You're
division.
kidding me.
In the scaled. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
scale. I didn't do like the weights that the athletes do and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up 29th percentile or something in Oceania or something stupid like that. I was like, yeah, this is really fun. I love
I
it.
can see that would be a little bit addictive in itself too.
Yeah,
You know,
and
you'd
it's
like
good
to, you could sort of like step it up with the next one or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, good on you. And so a couple more comps coming up and then probably retire from that and then continue on with your CrossFit, eh?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sure.
See how you go with it?
Don't know. So I'm coaching at Archer Street.
I was going to say that. So, but you're doing coaching and stuff. Is that for the boxing, is it? Or?
When before Brant Leah shut down, Liam wasn't able to do PTs anymore with job commitments. So I moved, and my daughter was boxing at Archer Street.
Okay.
So then I moved to training at Archer Street, and I trained there with Jono.
Yep.
Love training there. It's really good as well. And then he's had a couple of coaches leave, and he said, you know, why don't you come and do a few classes? And I said, I don't think I'm qualified enough. You know, I was doubted my own ability to be able to coach other people. Anyway, he convinced me to do it, and since then I've done my level 1 boxing coaching course with Boxing Australia.
Good on you.
Just done a judging and refereeing course with Boxing Australia. So
that's all right.
Yeah, so I've got a few more events to shadow judge, and I'll be an accredited judge.
And would that be something? Would that be something you would do?
Yeah, I love judging.
Do you? Oh, good on you.
I don't think I could ref. I'm too animated to ref.
Sure.
You know, because they're not supposed to speak, and it's just hand signals like keep your head up and stuff. And I'm way too animated for that. I'd be like, you get back there. Yeah.
Keep it above the waist.
Yeah.
No, good on you. That's cool. That's awesome. And how long have you been doing that for? That the coaching over
I've only been coaching there since March.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was coaching with Brant and Leah a little bit before then.
How many times a week do you do that?
Only Mondays.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Or I fill in. I've got a couple of extra days, couple of extra classes coming up because there's some people away. So
between your nursing, CrossFit, bodybuilding, boxing coaching, you got a pretty strict. You got a pretty busy schedule there, and being I
complain,
mum, wife.
Then I complain, like on the weekend. I say, I'm just doing all the time, just doing. It's probably my fault, really.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So from that point, this is the part I'm actually really excited and I want to talk to you about. And please feel free to let me know how much you want to talk about it, or you can just tell me, no, I don't want to about it. So when we're talking about conversation, we're talking about death in general, and about how much of it that your profession is involved with it, being what you've been doing for the years of critical care nurse and stuff like that. And then, you know, and we were talking about, and I get this quite a lot, and people ask me the same thing, that, you know, in the funeral industry, when I'm dealing with death, there's these times that I'm actually spending a lot of time with the deceased patients. So the time that I'm spending maybe preparing them for the funeral, accompanying them on the funeral, conducting the funeral, and then also finalising the disposition. So it could be the cremation or the burial, whatever the case may be. So a lot of people, they ask me things. So even like when, for example, like when I do my Harley hearse, I got a Harley hearse, you know, we put the deceased on the bike and take them for a ride. Might go to do the funeral. I might even take them a lap around Rocky, whatever, you know, might be the case. So there's a lot of time that I'm spending with these deceased people. Sorry. And the question gets asked, like they go, you know, do you talk to them? Do you feel like they're watching you? Do you get this vibe of, you know,
are they there?
Are they there? Yeah, that's right. And so my point, I guess probably the best way that I could explain it for myself personally, and what I've said before in the past, is that I think there's certain things in life that people are willing to accept only if they're in tune with what's going on.
Yes.
Okay, so for instance, for me personally, like I haven't had someone turn I haven't turned around to me and had a conversation with someone. Never had that experience with me before.
Yeah.
Whether it's because I'm in tune with it or not, I'm not too sure. But I've had certain situations where things have happened where I've gone, come on.
Is that a coincidence?
Is that a coincidence? Yeah. Come on. Like, this is a little bit, or, I might get this little sense of like, like the best one I can explain is and I've explained this before, where, I might be doing a preparation and I'm like, I chat to them in the way, like, I'll be like, oh, I hope you don't mind me doing this, being, just being nice when I'm moving, like, oh, I'm sorry, mate, just trying to be gentle, and then, like you get this little satisfaction sense in the back of your thought, or, you feel like you've done the right thing for them or something like that. And so, you get these little moments there, but, then that's what you said to me, that you yourself have these sort of things.
Yeah, so a few people know.
Yeah.
But
so I'll let you explain to me how you would like to explain it.
I'm intuitive.
Yes.
I've had that my whole life. And I guess, people would know it as mediumship. So,
sure.
I have had communications with spirits that have passed.
Sure. Yeah. And how would you explain that? Would you explain it in like verbal conversations, or would it be just like visual? How would you explain?
So there's different ways that people can receive communication from the spirit world, or whatever you want to call it, the higher beings, whatever people want to call it. There's 4 different ways. So you can be visual, you can hear them, you can just as a knowing.
Yes.
And then there's a feeling.
Sure.
So most of my messages come from visions.
Sure.
Or they talk to me.
Wow.
But not externally.
Sure.
It's internally.
Sure.
It's very hard to explain.
Yeah. No, please. I'm very open with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm not one to be a skeptic, because I think it's very hard. I think it's very ignorant of people to be very skeptical of what people experience without you knowing what they experience, because there's a lot of things that we don't know.
Absolutely.
And how are we to know unless we've experienced them ourselves?
Yeah. And I don't tell many people that I can do that.
I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, people look at you like you're a whack job.
I know. I know.
Might be a little bit, but
no, but I mean, like, even like like you said,
and I don't try and push it onto people either.
That's
that's
your own
belief.
personal.
That's your belief.
Of course it is. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, in one of those, we'll see that sort of 2 of those sort of things that we discussed would be probably my perception of what I feel, like what I feel from things that I've been doing in the funeral industry, and what was that? So there was the visual,
seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing.
Knowing and feeling. That would probably be the 2 ones that I would explain.
Feeling's probably the most common one.
Yeah.
That you can have. And knowing. So I just know things about people without knowing why I know them.
Yeah, sure.
So someone messaged me put up a post on Instagram the other day and said they've applied for a TV show.
Yeah.
And I immediately said, Gladiators.
Yeah, really?
I don't know where that came from. I just knew that was what it was. And I said, is it Gladiators? LOL. And they said, yes, it is. I can't, like, how did you know?
How did you know?
You got it or something.
Yeah.
And I said, I didn't even know it was making a comeback. I don't even really know the show. I just knew that that's what it was. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like, it's crazy that you can think that. It
just comes.
It just comes. Yeah. That's intuitive. Is that the right word? Yeah. I'm not good with the fancy
so
words.
that's claircognizance.
Is that what it is?
Clairvoyance is seeing, clairsentience is feeling, clairaudience is hearing, and claircognizance is like just knowing.
Okay, wow. That's good to know, because like I've never really said that stuff myself personally either. Like, people ask me all the time and I say, oh yeah, no, look, I get these little things here and there.
Yeah.
I get these little feelings and stuff that something's going on. It's good to have a little bit of reassurance in that myself personally, really.
So like your gut feelings,
Yeah, gut feeling. Yeah, yeah,
that's intuition usually, or should always trust your gut.
yeah. Have you ever had anything there that sort of just goes, whoa? Or do you have any? Have you had anything like where you go, holy shit?
Yeah. When I was first,
And yeah, how do you? Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
How do you?
how did I find out?
Yeah, how did you? How does that come about? Like, it's not.
So I've always had this belief ever since I was a child. Death has never worried me.
Yeah, sure.
I've always just felt like our body was just a shell.
Yeah.
And I always I could never explain it when I was younger. And I always equated it to like a hermit crab, The
Yes.
crab is our spirit, and then our soul.
Yeah.
And then once it's outgrown the shell, it leaves and goes and get another one.
Yeah, sure.
So I've always just, from the time I was little, just thought, oh no, death doesn't worry me because our body's just a shell to carry around our soul.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So when our soul leaves,
Yes.
our body's nothing.
Yes.
It's just a vessel,
It's
a
a
vehicle
vessel.
sort of thing. I'd forgotten. So years ago, my daughter was only a baby, and I started researching my dad's family tree.
Sure.
And I'd forgotten my dad's parents, when my dad was young, my dad's parents, his grandmother, so my grandfather's mother lived with them.
Okay.
And
Yep.
she used to have, when she was elderly, she used to have this little cane table.
Yeah.
And she used to hold seances. And my dad
Really?
and my grandma would tell me this story. In the house with in tiny community, and a few local people had come because it was still sort of taboo back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And this table would tap out messages. So
Really?
she'd have these seances and she'd ask this table things, and it would tap out messages. And my pop and my grandma used to say, when Pop walked into the room, it would tap out, there's a non-believer, and it would stop.
Really? Wow.
And we always used to just sort of laugh about it
Yeah.
and think it was quite funny. And my dad always said, it was kind of spooky. Well, when she passed away before I was born, my pop took the table out the back and chopped it up and burnt it because they were
Really?
scared of it.
Yeah. Sure.
So when I was doing my family tree, weird stuff started happening at the house, just random things like lights would turn on and off, kids' toys would start up in the middle of the night, the printer would come on and print nothing.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah,
I thought,
of
oh, my
course.
God. My daughter was 1, I think, and I thought, I've got postnatal depression and I need to be locked up for a while, I think. Like this is just spinning me out. Because I wasn't a believer, but I wasn't a skeptic either.
Yeah,
I was
of course.
just neutral.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it
Of
was
course.
just-
Just like it is what it is. Or
Yeah. And my husband was quite a skeptic at the time. And then one night I was laying in bed and our bedroom was down the end of the hallway, brand new house
Yeah.
on a property. And our kids' rooms were up the hallway and the doors were all open. And I woke up and I could hear, and my husband woke up and we could hear this child crying.
Really?
I thought, that sounds muffled. It sounded muffled. It sounded like it was through a door. And all our kids' doors were open so he could hear them. And he would get up to go check on our daughter and it'd stop. And so then he'd get back into bed and then it'd start again. And then he could hear it, so he would get up to check on our daughter. And then as soon as he put a foot on the floor, it would stop.
Really?
So then it started again. I said, I'll go. And I got up
Yeah.
and it didn't stop.
Wow.
And I walked all the way to her room and it wasn't her, and it was coming from outside the house.
No.
And it was at that point that I said, you heard that, didn't you? And he said, yeah. And that was at that point that I went, I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Something's going on.
Some weird shit's going on. We lived an hour from any town then. We were really quite rural, remote. Found this lady in a town an hour away who was a medium, sent her an email, and she sent back, oh, by the way, she said, you're a medium. She said, and there's someone with a H name that's trying to contact you to let you know that this is what you need to do.
Wow.
H name. Then when I was looking at the family tree, my great-grandmother who had the table, her name was Henrietta.
Oh,
I was
no.
like, no, come on.
Wow. That's freaky,
How
isn't
do
it?
you know this? And
Yeah.
you just did you just
Yeah.
look up, something or?
Yeah.
And she said, I said, what do I do about it? It's driving us nuts. And she said, well, you have 2 options. You can turn it off or you can develop it. And I thought, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Let's ride this roller coaster.
Yeah, so then I started attending some like development workshops and I'm a normal person,
Sure.
sort of. Like I'm not a hippie.
I like you said sort of.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just an average normal mum with a job and grounded and normal. So I started developing it and then went from there. So I was doing readings for people. I had quite a successful business before we moved here. I used to read for people. Obviously started for years doing it for free because
of course.
just
You wanted
I wanted to help people
and
then I started getting really, really busy with it and I was doing up to 10 readings a day and so I had to start charging people a small amount for it. Yeah, and then sort of developed from there. I went and studied Reiki, so I'm a Reiki practitioner, which I'm a big believer in energy. Everyone has energy. Everything
so that's what that is.
energy.
Sorry, that's what.
Yeah,
Okay.
So it's energy healing. So.
Energy healing. Okay, yeah. I'm a little bit oblivious. I'm a little bit. I'm not too sure. But I don't. I mean, when I say not too sure, like I don't really know anything about that.
Yeah.
So that's what that is. That's
it? Energy healing.
Energy healing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And aligning all our energies in our auras.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Stuff. So I studied that. Became a practitioner in that.
How did you find that?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't do it on myself and I don't really practice anymore.
Yeah,
that
sure.
was
Okay.
before we moved up here. But I still love it and I still,
Yeah, okay, cool.
really like it.
And how did you just decide that, or was it because you just the movement, you're just like, you know what?
I just got busier.
Yeah, okay.
I went and did midwifery, so like I was studying full time and I was working full time, and the kids were racing speedway motorbikes.
Oh, really? Good on them.
Every weekend, and my husband and my father-in-law. So we were, I just got busy.
Yeah.
And it can be quite draining.
Yeah, of course, I could imagine. Look, I mean, with anything, I guess on that same scale, like you're dealing with that sort of stuff as well. I'm sure that's got its own emotional attachments to it and all this sort of stuff that you're going through and the things that you're receiving and feeling. And
I had to learn to turn it off.
Yeah, it'd be intense.
Especially in the old hospital that I worked at. Okay. I had to learn to turn it off because,
you would get, you
could feel them and
feel
you could feel them watching you and, you'd hear things. And
that's intense.
Yeah.
I get asked that stuff all the time, mate.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. It's interesting. I love hearing that stuff, seeing see if people have felt that sort of stuff or seen that stuff.
Things.
Yeah. Look, it's the same. Look, you could say the same thing about religion and you could say the same thing about stuff like that where, like people are skeptical about religion, and, but the same thing, like I said, to people who ask me that stuff, I'm like, I can't judge. I don't know which. Well, for starters, I couldn't tell you which religion's right.
Yeah,
they all believe. A lot of them believe they're all they're the right religion, and no one else is the right one. But unless you've experienced it yourself, how you to know? So
that's exactly right.
I can't say that they're wrong or right. But I'm open to what they believe in, and I hope to think that there's something other out there, and I'd like to think that. When my time comes that I'm going somewhere afterwards or, that I still have that ability to maybe watch over my family or protect my family, all these sort of things that give me some. That guy still owes me $20. I'm going to hoard him.
Some poltergeist activity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm going to slam the door on him during the night or something, like raise the curtains. But, and it gives you some of your own sort of reassurances and some sort of comforting in that. Because like myself, I've never been one that's been scared of death. I'm not scared of death in itself. No. The thing I'm scared of leaving my family behind.
Yeah, same.
That's the thing I'm scared of. It's not the fact of me actually dying.
No.
It's the fact that the people I'm leaving behind.
Yeah. And I think that's what in your job, that's what I would find the most confronting is the sadness of the people.
It is.
That are left behind.
It is because, like I was saying to you before, about especially things like suicide and stuff like that, if you could just give those people a bloody glass ball and show them and go, hey, look, this is what's going to happen to your family if you go and do something silly like that. even in your darkest time. And I'm not one to judge people with the stuff that they're feeling and experiencing and stuff like that. Look, everyone goes through that sort of stuff at some point in their life. They may experience those sort of things and they have those dark thoughts and stuff. But if there was just that,
if you just show them what they're going to leave.
This is what, if you were to leave this world tomorrow, this is the impact that you're going to have on these people for the rest of your life. And then
whether that would change.
Whether it would make the difference or not. And the thing is too, like, as much as sometimes that people do see that, even people later on end up the same thing happening. You know what it's like because you were the one that got left behind.
Yeah.
You know the feelings that the things that happened. You know, and then you go and do it yourself, knowing that that's what your family's going to go through now.
Yeah.
So, I wish you could have a crystal ball to show people that.
Yeah.
But
and then they come back to people like me and pass on messages that they're sorry they did it.
Yeah, of course, that's it. Yeah, and look, I can see that why people need that. I can see that people turn to those people that are able to do those things.
And sad in any industry that there are fakes and there are people that will take advantage of that.
Oh, that's with anything.
Yeah.
Anything that you do in this world.
Yeah.
You've got people selling snake oil. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And deciphering the person who's the truth and not. I mean, I couldn't tell you. But if that brings a source of comfort to someone that they and closure, I'm all for it.
That's why I did it. And that's just to help people.
Yeah. Some people find it in religion, some people find it in medium, some people find it in a bottle of gin or something. It depends what it is. But I think if that gives people that sense of closure, why not? I think it's fantastic.
And I don't read for people as such anymore. Sure. But I still get messages and I still pass them along.
Yeah. Hey, good on you.
I've acquired a friend of a friend who has become my friend. She lost her son, a teenage boy, and he comes through quite regularly now with stuff that no one would know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I know it's him because he takes my vision away and my hearing, and it's like a whooshing sound for about 10 seconds, and he'll show me things.
Wow.
And the things that he shows me, and then I'll go, yes, that was for her.
Yeah.
And I'll message her and say, he showed me such and such today. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
And then she will message back or like, yes, this is what he used to call me. This song just came on the radio.
Yeah.
All with reference to what I've been showed that I wouldn't know.
And so when you text her that stuff, that's you literally just texting her what you see.
Exactly what I see.
Yep.
Don't pass anything.
Don't try to make your own assumption of it. Yeah, you
so
just
the way the thing I had to learn is they give me, when spirit communicates with me, they've made me sort of like a dictionary.
Yeah. Okay.
So it could be random.
Yeah.
Things like a balloon to me will signify, a birthday, or a white rose will signify a death. Mm-hmm. So they've built up this way of showing me things that mean certain things to different people. I'll feel, say if they had a heart attack, then I feel pain in the chest and I go, this person had a heart attack. Or bowel cancer or stomach cancer, I will physically feel that and go, I've got Bob here and he's telling me he died of bowel cancer.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So I practice it by evidence.
Yes.
I won't just give general information. Like I would not just say, oh, I've got your grandfather here and he was a lovely man and I say to them, you need to give me something that only this person would recognize.
Yeah, sure. It's funny the way I look at it. And I guess this could probably be one way in itself. I wonder if, as we evolve later on down the track, as we adapt and then we change, the human species itself has changed so much over the thousands of years.
Adaptation.
Yeah, adaptation. maybe you could look at it in the sense of the way that we receive what we receive these days. It could be similar to that of like Morse code, and then later on down the track as we evolve, we might evolve into like that wireless radio system where we have more frequent, easier form of contact to a point where now one day we might have a telephone conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
With
as
the
it
other
evolves,
side.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like as we become more in tune and as we become more adaptive and everything and all the elements line up and we evolve, and maybe one day that might be the case.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe.
Maybe we're at that Morse code state at the moment.
I don't think I'm special. I don't think I have a
Yeah,
gift.
sure.
I think everybody has the ability to do it.
I totally agree with you. That was
But some
purely.
people just close it off.
Oh, look, yeah, I totally agree with you in that point. That was pretty much my argument from the start. Was like whether you're in tune to it or not, whether you're willing to accept it as whether and that's what I think everyone has the ability to do certain things. I think it's just whether you are willing to accept it or not.
Yeah. And then that led me down a whole other path of researching and studying the soul's evolution. So like
Oh,
as
really?
a soul.
Yeah,
So
okay.
now they're the only readings I do now for people pretty
sure.
much where people pay me to do them.
Yeah,
and I've
sure.
done thousands of those for people all over the world. They're online. So it's a whole different
Is it really? Is it so?
concept.
Is it one's own soul that you're reading? Is that what it is, or is it souls that you can be in contact with? Is that
So I read what's called the Akashic or Akashic records, which is
sure.
like the book of life.
Okay.
So every thought, every action, every single thing a soul has done, not us, my soul, your soul,
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
is stored in this energy base.
Yeah.
So lifetimes. So it believes in the belief focuses around reincarnation.
Okay.
So
sure.
that
Yeah.
the soul is everlasting, and
Yeah.
then we come back every 200 years or so into a new body to experience and learn new things,
Sure.
and then we die, and then we
Sure.
do that again until we learn and evolve as a
Yeah. Right.
being, whatever it's called.
That's cool. I like that sort of concept with things like that. Hey, are you more yourself? Do you run your own personal beliefs? Do you sort of go down that sort of path in what you believe, or do you sort of follow a religious path in that, or is that a religion? What?
I always felt a longing to be part of to follow a religion, but nothing ever fit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
I've
can
always,
understand
I believe in there's something higher,
Yes.
but probably not mainstream
Yeah.
religions.
Yeah. Sure.
I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that the soul is everlasting, and then we're here to learn lessons
Yes.
and life lessons, and we experience things as a soul that we bring different qualities to this life.
Yeah.
One thing that I do believe is that we're all part of a soul family,
Yes.
so that, there could be a bunch of souls. So souls or spirit, souls, whatever you want to call them, have no sex and no gender or anything like that on the other side. It's just a soul.
It's a soul. Yeah.
But you still have unique qualities that each time you come to a human life,
Yes.
you bring those qualities with you. And there's a group of 5 to 15 maybe that all agree to come together every single lifetime. But every single lifetime, they've got this contract to come together, but every single lifetime could be in a different relationship. So, like my dad in this lifetime, in the last lifetime, could have been my brother, and in the next lifetime,
yeah, okay, sure.
his soul and I could meet as business partners
Yeah,
or whatever.
sure.
But we've all agreed to
Meet at that point.
every lifetime.
Wow.
And that's like a soul family. That's just my belief.
Have you ever had that sort of feeling where you feel like
Yeah, of course.
you've had this, you've been at this point before in your life, or that you've experienced this point in your life, or it's like I've had that a couple of times where
When you meet somebody,
yeah,
and you
it's
think,
like yeah,
God, I feel like I've known them forever.
Yeah. That's
is-
that feeling.
Yeah, that is like
Yeah.
that connection as a soul before you came here in this human body.
Oh, and I reckon also too, you could probably say the same thing. When you meet someone, you just gel. Everything's just like.
It's because you've met before.
Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Like I met one of these guys last week on a trip, and we just hit it.
Yeah.
And it was great, you know, top bloke. And it's like we'd known each other for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Because you have.
I probably have. There we go. That's unreal.
And we don't remember.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And could you say the same for that deja vu and all that sort of stuff as well?
I guess.
You
I
guess,
have
in a way?
deja vu all the time.
I get bad for that.
Yeah, but I never, I don't understand it. I don't.
No, neither do I. Well, I don't know if it's because I repeat myself quite a lot in a lot of things I do anyway. So it might be just more of a case of I did it last week and I just, you know what I mean? Like I did exactly the same. I went exactly the same, did exactly the same thing.
It usually happens at random times, but like you'll
Completely
sit down
out of
and
the
go,
blue.
I've sat here and done this before.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to do a bit of research on that one because I'm one for getting a lot of deja. I do that quite a lot.
And then someone said to me, I was listening to something the other day, is it deja vu or is it a premonition? And I was like, yeah.
Oh, like you knew you were going to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. You're looking at the other side of the
Spun me out a bit.
looking at the other side of the thing. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too.
Yeah.
Never even thought of that.
So I don't know. Yeah.
So that was awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Hey,
No worries.
I love that sort of stuff. I'm really open to that sort of stuff. I love hearing that, and I love talking to people about that, and I love giving the other opportunity for people to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
Because that stuff excites me. I love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I don't usually share that with a lot of people, but now everyone who listens to this will know. But and I used to be ashamed of it and embarrassed, and I would never tell anybody. But now I own it because I'm unique and it's me. And if people don't like it, I don't care.
Yeah, good on you. No, look,
that maybe comes with age.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I guess it does. Yeah, a bit of age, and also too, like we're in this lifestyle. We're in this world now where what's it? You know, it's more open now than ever, really, isn't it? You know, might as well. People are more open with this sort of stuff. Why not?
I always have lived by the belief that, and I've always said, made comments to my kids. Well, if he's different, everyone can't be the same, because if everyone was the same, how boring would it be?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to embrace their uniqueness.
100%. And also too, I think it's a good way to do it for your children and stuff as well.
Yeah.
To show that you're open with it and that you're happy to be yourself, open with yourself about that, and give the opportunity for your children to do the same as well and be proud of who they are and what they believe.
Not just follow the flock.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I think so. No, well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. No, you're welcome. I appreciate it. Now, with every guest that comes on, we give them their own coffin nameplate. So, I mean, you probably know that now. But
I've listened to most of them.
You listen to most of them? So here you go, Jodie. This is your own coffin plate.
Thank you.
So as you can see, like it is on the thing there, that's where it would go on the coffin.
Find somewhere to put it.
Yeah. I don't know. No one's really gotten back to me on where they've put them yet.
Yeah.
I keep telling them to put it on the bedhead, but
I'll put it. I've got buckle holders for all our bucking bull rodeo buckles. I'm
that's cool.
Put it up with that.
Yeah, I love that. So that's awesome. Now, well, if you do it, send us a photo.
Yeah, I will.
I'd love to.
That's cool.
Love to see it. So thanks for that. I appreciate that heaps. We had been coming to and fro over a couple of weeks to get it done. I really wanted you to take your time and let us know some of those stories because it was really cool and unique.
Now everyone knows I'm a weirdo.
No, not at all. I reckon that's sick. Yeah. If anything, a lot of people will probably, you might bring out a lot of other people that might be open to it.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? You might get the people
I believe I've inspired people to be unique, be weird.
And be themselves.
Yeah.
Why not? Thank you to everyone that's tuned in and listened, and good luck with your
thank you.
With your bodybuilding competition coming up.
Yep.
And if you have any other interesting things happen to you, please feel free to reach out. Jump on and share some of your stories and whatnot. So, well, thank you to everyone. And thank you, Jodie, once again, and we'll catch up soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.